right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So there was a report that came out over on ESPN. Believe it was from Mike Reese, if I'm not mistaken. Rich Cimini touched on it as well. But it seems like there is a clear-cut favorite to win the wide receiver 2 job, Josh Reynolds, who obviously was just brought in this offseason. There's been some question marks surrounding Alan Lazard. Malachi Corley has been hurt. He's had some disappointing moments. Arian Smith, obviously he's a rookie, mid-rounder, so that's obviously a lot to put on someone like that walking into a room. Hey, you're a wide receiver 2 all of a sudden. And then, of course, we do have Tyler Johnson, and he's made a couple plays here and there. Seems like him and Justin Fields have a solid connection. But when we take a look at Josh Reynolds, it seems like it's been nothing but positivity, right? Him and Fields have a connection going. He's making plays. He's turning heads. I remember there was a story that came out, I think it was a couple days ago, where he, just one-on-one against Gardner. He got the best of him. And so right now, right, as Jets fans, there's really, two ways to kind of take this or interpret this news. There's the positive / optimistic side, and then there's the realistic side of it. So let's talk about the positive side of this, which is Josh Reynolds right off the bat has experience working with Aaron Glenn, Tanner Engstrand, Steve Hyden, as well as Darren Muji, right? Josh Reynolds was a part of the Detroit Lions, a part of the Denver Broncos. Seems like there's a lot of familiarity there. I know a lot of the reporters suggested Tim Patrick, right, for a similar reason. He was in Denver, he was in Detroit, but it turns out it's Josh Reynolds who was brought in. And if we take a look at Reynolds as a player, he's never really had that monster 1,000-yard season, 900, 800 receiving yards. But he is someone that you always just kind of feel like, man, this guy's body type, he has a lot of potential, long strides, lengthy, can high point the football. But the one thing I will say about Josh, even though he's never had those, absolutely dominant seasons, he's been pretty consistent. When he's on the field, he provides consistency, which I like. We're taking a look at the contract that the Jets signed him, just a cheap one-year deal. You're not going to expect 1,100 yards out of a contract like that, obviously. Speaking of his body type, though, it's very different than Garrett Wilson. So in the event where, you're just imagining, okay, the Jets offense is lining up. We understand, okay, this team wants to run the ball. They want to stick to the run game, commit to the run game, build off of the run game, utilize Justin Fields' legs. Garrett's going to get his targets. Mason Taylor's probably going to be targeted based off of course, the camp that he's having, but also the utilization in the tight end in this style of offense, as well as Justin Fields' maybe tendency to target tight ends in the past, Cole Kmet most notably. So at that height, at 6'4", 6'5", I like the overall size. I like the length that Reynolds provides. He gives you something different. You can throw Reynolds red zone fades, right? You can really give him one-on-one matchups on the outside, right? Solo. If there's a significant height difference between him and a corner, you kind of like that matchup if you're Justin Fields. The focus from opposing defenses, again, is going to be trying to keep Justin Fields in the pocket, stopping the run. What's going on with G5? We always have to make sure where he is pretty much at all times. I like his potential, and I like his fit in this style of offense. It just gives defenses a different look. It gives them something else that they have to worry about. Reynolds' best year was back in 2023 with the Lions. 608 receiving yards, 40 catches, 5 touchdowns. Those numbers don't really scream wide receiver 2, but has Reynolds really been in this position before where he is, or, assuming that things kind of continue on here, if he does in fact win this job, you could definitely argue, okay, you know what? Yeah, you're right. He doesn't have these super, super impressive numbers, but he's never been given this type of opportunity. So with this opportunity, do those numbers potentially shoot up? I think you can make that argument. And also, too, one of the biggest questions coming into training camp, one of the biggest things that kind of was just on my mind personally, something that I was hoping for, could one of these wide receivers, again, a Lazard, a Tyler Johnson, Josh Reynolds here, Arian Smith, could one of them start to separate themselves from the pack, and be that go-to wide receiver too? I don't think anyone's asking, Josh Reynolds or any of these guys to become T. Higgins or like one of these elite number 2s, Eric Decker to Brandon Marshall, if you will. But can you just give us consistent play? Can you give us productive play? Can you just be someone that Justin Fields can rely on? Or are you out there making mistakes, maybe head-scratching plays, drops, and just not being able to get open, just overall a liability at that spot? And again, that was one of my questions. Can one of these guys pull away? And it seems like Reynolds is in fact pulling away here. Now, we do have to, of course, look at the realistic side of it, which is if you're in a position right now to where Josh Reynolds, who throughout the course of his career has always kind of been that wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4, if he comes in one camp and is your wide receiver 2 in just one off season, I think that, you could, if you're not a fan of the Jets, say, for example, you're a fan of the Ravens or the Saints or the Dolphins, right, take your pick, and you're looking at the Jets saying, man, Josh Reynolds, the career wide receiver 3, 4, is the wide receiver 2 for this football team. Yeah, they're going to need more help. They're going to need more firepower at that position. Now, of course, you can never cross off every single one of your team needs in one offseason, right? Especially if you're a 5-win team with the amount of dysfunction and holes like the 2024 Jets. I personally think that Darren Muji did a good job of addressing team needs while at the same time trying to balance that with BPA. If you think about all the team needs that we had coming into the offseason, like when Glenn first took over, man, there was a long, long list. Tight end, right tackle with Armand Membu, D tackle, quarterback, both safety positions. Bringing back Jamie and Sherwood, I felt like was a pretty big priority. And we did a lot. I mean, tip your hat to these guys because they did fill a bunch of needs. But again, you're never just going to say, okay, you know what, the Jets have 6, 7 different team needs, and in one offseason, one shoot, we're just going to go A+, A+, A+ right across the board. So it seems like wide receiver is one of those positions that just got they kind of just made the best of what they had available to them, with bringing in Josh Reynolds, with bringing in Ty Johnson here. So it definitely feels like wide receiver is going to be one of those like hot positions come next year's draft. Overall, Josh Reynolds leading the race to become the wide receiver 2 for this football team, on one hand, presents a good counterpart to Garrett Wilson. Size, length, I like that about him. He knows the coach, he knows the system, he knows the guys. So, I mean, it seems like Josh Reynolds has been labeled as a really good teammate, not only just, this offseason cycle, but, throughout the course of his career. Obviously, he knows Darren Muji as well. There is that connection. So, yeah, we'll see what happens here. The last thing I will say is I am impressed that Reynolds seems to be earning this job, and it's not the approach of, okay, we just have to roll the best available option out there despite none of them actually impressing us. It seems like Reynolds is stepping on the field basically saying, I deserve to be wide receiver 2. Watch me work. And the work is proof is in the pudding here. So preseason is going to be huge. I cannot wait for preseason. I cannot wait for that joint practice against the Giants. But anyway, thanks so much. And as always, go Jets.